Hi, welcome to another episode of the Curious Midlife Podcast. And I am really excited today to talk to the very inspirational, trailblazing, competitive, oldest ninja athlete, incredible woman, Ginny MacColl. So, hi, Ginny. Thank you for being here
Hi.
today.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and thank you to your audience for listening.
I mean, I know so many people who I've spoken to, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to be talking to Ginny soon on the podcast," and they were like, "Oh, when's that coming out? When's that coming out?"
Oh,
So,
nice.
um, you are an inspiration to so many people, male, female, young, old alike. And number one, I was following your daughter's story for a while, and that's how I was interested, and that's how I found out about you. And basically, can you just wind back the clock for us as someone who had osteopenia? So was told, you have these bone density issues. You had a very active daughter who was on Ninja Warrior and is now, I don't know if she was a stunt woman then. I'll let you fill in all the gaps on this. And so what's your story? Like how did this happen? Take us
Well,
back.
it's a long story because I'm 72 years old now, just turned 72. But if we started with the osteopenia, yes, I was diagnosed with that. And at the time, I had never heard that term. Strangely enough, I did not know what it was. And I'm like, oh, what is that? And she says, a step before osteoporosis. And I'm like, what do I do? And she said, well, it's just typical of your age. And so I was just going to go along with that. But what I found when I started strength training, which was many years later, after 2 years of weight training, I had been able to reverse it to
Love it.
normal. And I was like, wow, you really have to be your own advocate because, maybe they say it can't change, but maybe it can. And does it hurt you to try? And that, I think that's happened so many times in my life that I realized when somebody says no, unless I'm walking out in front of a car on a street, uh, that, maybe there's a yes involved. Maybe I just can't. And let's investigate further. And
I love
sometimes you
that.
can't. I mean, there are many people who, really need to have maybe medical help for, different problems that they have. But maybe you can. And I really wish people would learn in their 20s and 30s or earlier that they might also turn back, something like that, or not allow it to happen if they start weight training, strength training, do cardio work, if that became a part of their daily routine, that maybe they won't get the osteopenia or the osteoporosis. Just maybe. I mean, it's worth it, right?
I mean, hell yes, completely. And I'm very much in this camp of like, well, what if that's not the case? What if? What if I choose to do these other things and just see what's possible? What if I don't accept that conventional norm? What if I do this and it can be reversed? Like what are these, there aren't so many things that are so written in stone. And I also think our mind and our body has an incredible potential to change things when we do certain things. So how did you start? What were the first steps for you after you had and also actually, is this kind of a character trait of yours? Were you always this curious and questioning, or was it really just a very big shock of like, oh gosh, now I'm in my 60s, should I just accept that this is
Well,
as good as it gets?
in terms of the osteopenia, yes, the doctor said that that's normal and it's an aging process, and there are certain things that are going to happen. Um, and so I did kind of accept it. But in other cases, I think that and certainly now in my old wise age, I do question all the time. Like, there must be something that I can do. So let me research it. There's another instance where I have heart disease in my family, which I think it's very important for people to know their history. And my brother had 5 stents recently, and my mother had 11 stents put in, her arteries and capillaries and such. And I got a diagnosis that I had 50 to 70% occluded in my carotid. And when I heard 70, and I was like, whoa, oh no. So the doctor, who hadn't wanted me to take the test to begin with, but she sent me to a vascular surgeon who said, come back in 2 years. It could be the person who read it. It could be this or that. But we don't really do anything until it's 80% occluded. And I went, whoa, isn't there anything I can do? And he said, no, there's nothing you can do. So there that bell was ringing in my head.
Like there is not like, because nothing's a really big extreme. It's a very extreme approach. Nothing.
Yes. So I read a book, actually. It's called The Prescription for Life, and a friend told me about it, and it was a very drastic diet change. So I stopped all dairy. I limited saturated fats and cholesterol. I didn't take any medicine, but I didn't have any red meat. Although there's a lot to be said for that. But in my case, I wanted to go drastic and see if I could, in those 2 years, change this. So it was very difficult because there was nothing in my house to eat. I was like, whoa, wait a minute.
What were you eating? What did a day look like?
Well, I had ice cream. I mean, I had, the fake, not the butter.
Coconut
the butter
ice cream
with the oil, olive oil, so it wasn't really extreme in terms of the way I used to eat, but taking out all red meat was pretty big. I mean, I used to have, steak once a week and that kind of thing, and lots of eggs and lots of, just, it wasn't this diet. And so, after 2 years, I went back and it was 40%. And I said, what do you think it was diet? Because I told her, the person who took the test, she said, well, it could be where she was putting the instrument to read it. It could be the person who read it, because it was a different machine that they used. So, and it could be diet. It could be all three. So I will never know what made that change. And I have since modified my diet so that I have, I do have red meat. If I go to somebody's house and they have cheese, or if I have butter on the vegetables, I'm not going to not have it. And I don't have an allergic reaction to it. I just stay away. I don't have milk. I have cashew milk. I have, I have the silk, non-dairy yogurt. There's lots of things that I learned that I could have. Instead of butter, I use avocado spread on my toast, which is really good. So I don't use the mayonnaises or anything like that. So I've just modified it. So we'll see where it stands the next time I go in.
I mean, whatever you're doing, it's working.
Hopefully, when it comes to the carotid.
Yeah.
Yes.
In terms of your everyday energy and things like that. So when did you, so you had these diagnoses after the osteopenia, then you made these, you had this mindset shift, which led to different actions so you started strength training. How was that? And also, so your background, you were a dancer in your earlier years. So can you talk a little bit about, so you were this mover and then you stopped moving, or like what was the middle of this story? Just so we can join the dots.
Okay. You tell me to stop if I get going too long. But I grew up in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I was extremely shy, and my parents put me into dance. And dance was a form of expression, and I really took to it. So I continued dancing from 3rd grade until I was 30 years old. And I wanted to move to New York to become a professional dancer, which I did. And this is where people tell you can't do things. Like nobody,
again,
1% of the people are going to get a job in that. And I just went, maybe I'll be that 1%, but I've got to give it a try. And I gave myself 3 to 5 years, and I was able to dance with some companies and be on scholarship. And then I moved to more Broadway style auditions and dance, and did a show called Pippin on Broadway, which was in 1975 and 6. And I was able to not only be a dancer, but also I got to understudy a lead in the show. And so that was like the top of the top to me, to be on a Broadway stage. So I would walk down the street, Broadway, as a matter of fact, and go, I'm playing a lead in a Broadway show. It was very exciting. So all during that time I was dancing, obviously. And then I got married, had 2 kids, and some of your audience may remember, but it was Jane Fonda's pregnancy record that I used to exercise with. So I continued through the pregnancy, which allowed me to lose the weight right away too. But then, you're raising kids, and like many people out there, they get to that point where they're working and they're taking care of kids and they're doing all those things. And exercise is probably about the last thing you do. Mm-hmm. So there was a period of time that I just devised my own like 20-minute routine in the morning. I'd get up and I did, the push-ups. I did a certain amount of everything, and it was 20 minutes. If I had anything any longer, I might not do it. And I got to the point where it was like, I can't stop a day, because if I do, that gives me an excuse to stop another day. So I would continue that. But there was a time when, I got divorced. I was a single mom, and it was very difficult to do all those things. So I was pretty much running around with the kids, and I lived in the Poconos, which was a very hard place mm-hmm. to make a living. And so I ended up teaching dance. So I was exercising then. I made a vow to myself at 16 that I would never stop exercising. But let me tell you, dance doesn't use that upper body. And I don't know why. I've talked to some of my dancer friends, and I was like, are the arms just a frame to the body? Are they just expression? Are they just, they're just not, muscle building.
Mm-hmm. I guess there's a lack of resistance of anything. I'm not a dancer. I'm just guessing, like they're making shapes, and they're holding, and they're balancing.
Right. But they're not
primary active resistance. There's not a push and a pull.
No.
And a grip.
No. No. Very important things for ninja.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point I did stop the dancing, and I moved over to TV commercials. And that was really a great way to be able to raise the kids and be able to get work as well. But when I became a single mom, I ended up, like I said, teaching dance. And I'm going a little bit back and forth. I'm sorry about that. But so it was a trial, but it was a great place for the kids to grow up, because they didn't have the cell phones. They had to play outside. There was no cable. There's no computer. So mm-hmm. It was I'm very lucky that they had this outdoor experience, as much as it was very difficult as well. And that's where I think I really learned mostly that nobody else is going to do it, that I have to do it. Mm-hmm. So like when a bat got into the house and I'm swinging you take tennis rackets or badminton rackets and you swat them. You don't want them in the house. I hid the kids in a bedroom, and I put a towel underneath the door, and I'm downstairs with 2 rackets going, yeah! I'm smacking away, getting nowhere. And I went, all right, this isn't working. You're going to have to pull yourself together, and you're going to have to get this bat out of the house. Mm-hmm. And somehow I maneuvered him over to the kitchen, and I went outside, and I saw him up in the corner, and I got rid of the bat. End of story. So there were times like that when the blizzard came and we had to plow the snow off the roof. And, there were just so many circumstances where it's like, okay, well, there's nobody here to do it. Got to do it. Yeah. And actually, years later, my daughter did say that. I asked her one day, what did she learn most from me? Which is a great question to ask your kids. And she said, I learned to be self-sufficient.
And what a life skill to have this kind of autonomy and realization as well of that. Very much so.
So anyway, I asked my son that same question, and he said to never give up. So I thought,
beautiful. Wow. What beautiful feedback. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. And you know what? I think I've lost the original question. How it started with Jessie was watching her. I was I was cheering for her on the sidelines all the time. Now, Jessie's been in 10 seasons. She's one of the top ninjas, and she just has a way about her. She has everything, the whole picture. She's got the grace. She has these outfits and costumes that she wears, and she flies through these obstacles. And as she says, she's not the strongest. She thinks her way through a lot of them, but she looks so strong and she looks so healthy. So I said to her at that moment, it was just like when I said, I'll never stop exercising. I said to her, I want to get stronger. It's not that I wanted to diet. It's not that I wanted to change my body, anything about it. It's just the idea of being stronger. That's what I wanted. And she gave me several ideas, but one of them that stuck with me was to do pull-ups.
And for pull-ups, for so many women, it's like the holy grail. It's like,
I know, now it
I'll
is.
never do a pull-up. And it's like, well, maybe you can.
Never say never.
Maybe you can. Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there that are wanting to do pull-ups now. But I got one of those little pull-up bars that you put in between the doors, and I wasn't doing very well. And I sent a video to Jess, and she says, well, I'm really very proud of you for doing this, but that's not a pull-up. A pull-up is when you bring your chin all the way over the bar and your arms go straight down. And that's the hardest part. It goes straight down and your feet aren't on the floor. And it's like, how do I get back?
It's like, where, like, how? How does this happen? Yeah.
No, I can't believe it's this hard. So I went to a personal trainer. And that's when I really felt like a fish out of water, because everything to me was artistic and, releve, plie, and, arms. And he's like lifting these weights. And I'm like, okay, so this is just very different for me to try to grasp. And it still is. But it took me an entire year to get one pull-up because I had no upper body strength. So you don't just sit and work on pull-ups all the time. I had to develop, more strength in my chest, my arms, shoulders, back, legs, the whole thing. And but that was my goal, was five pull-ups. So everything was working towards that. And when I was able to do one pull-up, and American Ninja Warrior had asked us to do a segment on a mother-daughter working out together. So that was actually, they used that in the show. They show 7 years ago when I could jump and get myself over it, but I couldn't come back up again. So they kind of said it might be a great idea to have a mother-daughter team. So I did send in a submission, a 3-minute video, and you have to have skill and personality. And I got the call. They see videos from 70,000 different people.
Oh my gosh.
So I just kind of slowly went along with it. I didn't I wasn't driving this car. I was like, oh, okay, I'll just follow you and do this. So I got the call in January, and Jessie says to me, Mom, you better get yourself to a competition someplace just to see what it's like. And I went, yeah, I think I should. So I found some regional, in a different state. There was some in Georgia and some in North Carolina and South. Anyway, I went to a couple of those competitions. And again, I felt different from everybody else because there are not many gray-haired, 65-year-olds at that time out there doing Ninja Warrior. One little boy came up to me recently and he goes, so how old are you? At the time I was 71 and I'm 71, and his jaw dropped. And I went, you think that's old, huh? And he goes, for a ninja?
Oh, well, maybe, I mean, that's the beauty of, once we see it, it's easier to be it. And are you seeing more? Are you seeing a larger age range now?
Yes. I see parents joining in with their kids because they see what a nice bond. It's not only that I have a great relationship with my daughter now, but, it's a bonding. It's something that we love to do together. It's not just, okay, let's go out to eat or let's go shopping, or it's like, okay, let's do a challenge. Let's see how many something. Have you ever tried this? and we have fun doing it. And if anybody saw the segment of season 15, we both were in it. And she was cheering me alongside of me, which was, tables turned. It was really, it had so many different elements in it. Just not only being the oldest person to complete an obstacle, which I didn't know at the time. It would have made me nervous if I knew that was the case. But having my daughter there and having her pull me out of the water when I fell, and there's just, it also just showed to so many people, I think, that you can do this. That maybe we've had the wrong idea of what middle age and old age, if you want to say, or senior, I'm not sure the word to use anymore, redefining what an older age is.
Mm-hmm.
But it had all those elements in it that just made it, when I watch it, I feel pretty special about it, because it did gain a lot of attention. And a lot of people have responded to me that, hey, if you can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of what I want to do. I want people to see that, you can get help, get fit for your health, and see your potential, because we so many times say, I can't do it, I can't, or, oh, that's too hard, but if you really want to do it, just go after it. You're never too old to chase a dream.
100%. I think whenever I've seen any clips of you and Jessie, what I see is love. I just see so much love and joy and connection. And it's sort of, I don't, even though you're both doing, very impressive physical things, if you're doing pull-ups together, and then seeing like, oh, this was this number of years ago, and then you see, oh, like a few more years later, and then it's like you are just keeping up and rocking, and you both, but there's so much, it's really the joy and the connection and the love that really, I think, shines through.
Well, that's wonderful. I mean, I couldn't ask for anything better than that response right there.
And I also think I love what you said also about how Jessie is a role model, and I think that I believe this is really true for you as well, is there is health first. There is this health. There is this vibrancy in this health. So it's not just because we can see people do feats of strength. Like we can look at a strongman competition, which is just, and I remember I watched a documentary, and the amount that these humans have to eat to pick stuff up, and like they have a very short lifespan, and their doctors will say to them, like, you can't compete at this level and do this. So there's not all strength has a health first approach and perspective. But I think, I come from a parkour background, so I think, activities like Ninja Warrior, which have this, even though there's a huge amount of upper body strength, there's a diversity of skills here. There's balance, there's proprioception, there's speed, there's all sorts of things there that you need this well-rounded, you really have to be kind of 360 degrees strong in your movement practice. But to be able to train for that, you need health. So I'm curious, when you started your strength training journey, how did you feel, and how did that change? What were the ripple effects of that in your life? Like, I know when I first started lifting, I couldn't believe how tired I was. I was like, how do people get up and do this in the morning and then go to work? Like, is this why people drink loads of coffee? Like, my body was like, wow, yeah, I am so tired. This is insane. So how was that for you at the beginning of that journey?
Well, I know I had a big determination. I couldn't tell you why now, but it was just, I made a goal for myself, and I thought it was attainable, 5 pull-ups, that I just had to go for it. I mean, what's the point of having a goal if you don't, get there, especially if it's attainable? I didn't ask for 100 pull-ups. I just wanted 5.
Yeah.
But I I mean, it was a shock just doing something very different. But my trainer had so many different things, like even taking a sledgehammer to the tire. So there were fun elements about it, and it was always very different. But within 7 months, I felt people would say to me, "Oh, I see you look more toned," and that just gave me like more impetus to go on. I felt really good about that in 7 months. And most people, a lot of people stop going to the gym after 6 months. And I'm like, oh, just keep going. You're so
they're missing the magic.
There.
They didn't get
Stop.
to the magic. Yeah, just keep going, keep going.
Keep going. Yeah. So, and then I felt strength. I remember one time opening the door and the door just kind of flew open. I was like, whoa.
Nice.
And that gave me a confidence. So along with all that came a great sense of confidence. And that, I think, was the biggest thing I gained in the beginning part of it. I'm sure I felt tired, but it was more an adrenaline coming from it. It just made me, feel great to start the day. I prefer mornings. I'm a morning person. So, there's some people that come alive more at night. My daughter, she starts working out maybe in the evening, late.
Oh, I'm like
late.
I never train after 2 p.m. Like I'm generally everything's done before 11 a.m. Like it's the morning for me. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I felt good with that changes, and I started to see the changes. And I think that's what everybody's looking for when they go to the gym. They want to see the difference. They want to, instantly drop weight, which a lot of times if you're lifting, you gain weight. And I was happy to gain weight because I thought, oh, good, that's muscle weight that I'm getting. So that was a good feeling for me. I know that a lot of people are going to go, yeah, right.
Oh, no. I mean, it's a body that has more lean muscle mass is very different than a kind of skinny fat body where there's a lack of muscle, and we want more muscle as we age.
Me too. And unfortunately, I think by the age of 30, you start losing muscle mass. And you just don't, I want to have a quality of life as I age. So I mean, I saw my mom who couldn't open jars, simple things like that. She had eye problems, so she had different, difficulties to get through. But I think the longer you can hold off having to have a walker or a cane, the longer that can be in the future, the better. And I think we're showing, and seniors are showing all over, that they can do that. For instance, I swim competitively as well. I guess I like competition. I don't know. But I go to the national senior games or senior Olympics, however you want to call it. And I was so impressed by the 80 and 90-year-olds who would dive off the block. They may need help getting onto the block, but they would dive, they would do flip turns, they would do 200 yards of some different stroke. And it was incredibly inspiring. And there was a woman there, her name is Julia Hurricane Hawkins. She started running at age 100. And she's, there's been so many articles written about her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was 103 at this point, and she was still running. And I think she's even run up to 105. And she looked great. I mean, she was still, walking fine. Yeah. And, that's what we hope for.
Yeah. I mean, I think, we're a use it or lose it system, but that also means we're a do it and keep it system and change it and improve it. And I think also there are these misconceptions that people have, or they get stuck in a rut at some chapter in their life, and they think, well, I'm not going to get stronger now, and it's really hard to build
Can't
muscle.
Start all over, right?
And it's kind of, well, the things you think are hard aren't actually the hard things, because none of us are that special where if you don't do this, and this consistently, that you won't build muscle. It's like you will. Like there are, there's a very small minority who have certain issues and certain things, but really in general terms, like we can be stronger. We can do those things. And what's your kind of training schedule at the moment? Like, what would like if we were a fly on the wall in your weekly or your training for this month? Like, how much are you doing? What does it even look like?
Well, I try to do strength training 2 to 3 times a week. And I also try to do cardio like 4 times a week. Now, for cardio, I do swimming, and swimming with a coach. We're a club. So it's a coach for like 15 of us, and it's constant swimming for an hour. And so that's like, there's so many times that I would swim back to the wall and hang on, until the next thing I was supposed to do, and just go, I can't go on anymore. And, when I saw everybody else going on too, I was like, well, surely I can do this. I'll just keep going. And, there's something that I keep telling myself the whole way down as I'm exhausted, going, I can stop. I don't have to go on. I can just sit and wait this one out. And it's like I have to fight that. There's such a mental problem that I'm always thinking the negative. And then once you do it, though, I'm exhausted and I'm still doing it. It may not be as fast, but I'm doing more technique and doing long and, smooth strokes. I go, I did it. Okay. Well, then I can do it again. And you see that other people are doing it. I'm like, I can't believe all these people are doing this. But you find that you can do it. There's a lot more. I think there's a Navy SEAL thing that they say, when you think you're exhausted, you've only used 40%. You've got a lot more to go. And there's more, there's more in you that you don't think is there, but all you have to do is give it a try. I think it was Ronda Rousey said, don't let the quit in. And
that's nice.
Statement.
I know for me, when if I look at a workout or something, if it's like, okay, there's this program, you have to do this, this, and this, and I can look at it and go like, oh God, that's a lot. I feel tired.
Yes, exactly.
I'm like,
I do.
And then I just think, well, I'll just do the first bit. And then I do the first bit and I'm like, that was okay. Okay, I'll do a little bit more. And if my mind can handle like a teaspoon, it can't deal with the whole plate. But if I always give myself like, well, I could stop, I could rest at the edge, or I could, and then I think, or like if I'm running, I think, oh yeah, I'm tired now. This is, and then I'll just run to that tree. And then you get to the tree and you're like, it's okay. A little bit more. I'll go to the next lamppost. Okay. Da, 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 da. And it's so mental, these games.
It is very mental. And I hate the fact that I will tell myself, oh, you can't do it. Or like you said, you look at the board and you see everything has to be done. And I'm like, I'll never get to that. But then I do. Yeah.
And I know people would probably be curious. Like, have you been injured?
Well, I didn't do my whole thing. I know I just did the cardio. So let me finish that.
Oh,
first.
Yes.
So that was a cardio. So I'll do that like 3 times a week. I also do strength training 2 to 3 times a week. And then I try to do yoga because I'm always tightening my muscles. So I felt that I was getting a little too stiff. So I wanted to start lengthening the muscles as well. And so I added yoga recently. And I train ninja like twice a week at my friend's house. He built some of the obstacles in his yard. So we have a lot of balance obstacles, but we have a lot of other things as well there that I get to work on and find new ways of using old kind of things that we've used before. But when I go to a competition, I'll find things and I'll go, can you build this? And he'll do it. So that's really great. So I think that covers all the things that I actually do.
And so this takes up a lot of hours in your week.
It's an average of about an hour and a half a day. And I always have a rest day. Sunday is my rest day. I don't do too much. I mean, if I do anything, it's only like, exercises with my fingers or my ankles, or, sometimes I pull out my slack line. I did that yesterday.
I saw that. Yeah. That's always challenging. Yeah.
Very, yeah. I have a slack line that's tight and I can go back and forth and I can even do it backwards. But this one in a competition,
Yes.
yeah, it wobbles. And so that's what I was kind of working on. I figure if I can do it when it wobbles, then I should be able to do it when it's tight.
Uh-huh.
So, so
And
yeah, it's practice, 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 practice. And sometimes that gets old, or sometimes that is just like, I got to get this. I just got to get, I'm not leaving. Like I'll say, I'm not leaving here until I get 10 steps on that slack line. And then I can go have lunch. So,
I do that stuff. I do that stuff. And
yeah.
just having that little goal, like this game with yourself of like, I don't care how long it
Yes.
takes. I'm going to like, do this jump or do this balance or this, and I need to do this number in a row. And that's it. Like, no matter how long it takes, all day. No, like, oh, that's
That
the
could be a
deal.
little over. That could be overdoing
Yeah. I
all
mean,
day
I'm
long.
careful with what the challenge is
Yeah. There's a saying, I hope I get it right here, that strength comes from within. It's the outer muscles just show the hard work, the discipline, and the mental attitude that got you here. But the inner strength is the driving force that gets you, healthy and happy and keeps you focused.
yeah.
And that's, I think, what we fight all the time. And every day, I mean, just count how many times you say, oh, I'm not going to do that. That's too hard. Or like there's a recipe that has a million different ingredients in it. And you go, I'm not going to do that. But if you really wanted that recipe, you'd go out and get those things and do it,
Mhm.
right? So I think that's a key to things is you want to find a passion in what you're doing. Then you want to commit to it. That's a big thing. It's not just going to the gym, but you have to commit, really commit. And then you make it a habit so that you don't do that stuff. You do it every other day, whatever your schedule is. And I usually tell people to start with walking, just get the heart rate up, start doing a little fast walking or maybe with weights. Find a buddy. It's more fun with somebody else. It's
Mhm.
so much fun. Like if I'm at the ninja gym, it's like I can watch somebody else and, oh, let me try that. And then you go back and forth. And it's great to have the people who cheer you on, not say, oh, you can't do that.
And do you find I mean you're a Guinness World Record holder now. You're renowned.
It's
You're like, oh,
amazing. It's
you're that
amazing.
lady. Yeah. And it but in the earlier days, did you find that people were cautious around you? Like, are you okay, Ginny? Are you like or did you always have this very believing all in group of supporters? Because I know within parkour or some balance things, sometimes people are like their own fear expresses it as a way where they kind of saying like, I'm worried about you falling, and you're like, no, no, like I'm good over here. I've got this. Like you're worried about it makes you nervous watching me do this.
Well, not when I was young, but certainly as I've aged, I do notice that when I see the video back of a competition, that there are two people behind me like this.
The spotters.
But I think that they are that way with anybody because there's some balances that can be pretty tricky, and all you need to do is trip and knock into something.
Mm-hmm.
So there's usually somebody there. But if I see something that I'm worried about, that is something that I haven't tried before, I will ask for people to be standing there just
Yeah.
in case.
Yeah.
I don't
And
want to have those injuries that
no,
you
gosh.
mentioned.
No,
And
no, no.
I think because I didn't get all the injuries growing up, although I sprained my ankle multiple times, so I have weaker ankles. I work on them a lot. But I don't have as many injuries, but I also know when to stop. Now I do. If you do repetitive, repetitive, repetitive to the point where I'm not going to leave here until I get it, sometimes you overdo it. And if I start feeling my muscles getting sore in a questionable way, I'll go over and do balance. I'll pull myself away from it because I get like, I have to get this. And I'll go, wait a minute, stop.
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
do some balance and do something else. So I've had injuries in a competition 2 years ago. I somehow broke my finger by it hit into another obstacle and did what's called a mallet. You can see
Mm-hmm.
it's not straight there. Um, it's a mallet finger. It's like what they get in baseball when the ball hits and it knocks
Ooh.
it down. And it took much longer than I thought to heal. But as you said earlier, the body is amazing. I did wear a splint for a long time. And what happens is the collagen creates like a scaffolding between the broken bones and grows in. And so it just miraculously
We heal. We
heals.
heal. Yeah.
We heal. Yeah. If you give it the right rest. And I wore that splint for a long time. And I stopped doing ninja for like 10 months as well. I couldn't do it. I wanted to go to Worlds and do it, but the doctor said, yeah, so can you wear a splint and do it? And I'm thinking, that'd be crazy. So I had to not do it, which was sad. But yeah, there's been that. And I think I did something to my shin trying to do the warped wall. I heard a little pop. So that took a while to heal. So I take a longer time to heal, but there's a lot of time that we spend in recovery. We want to, either get a massage once in a while or, work it out. There's many things on the internet as well. If you have like a shoulder soreness, you can look and find out, okay, what do I do? What kind of exercises can I do to stretch this to, improve it? And that helps me a lot too.
I mean, yeah, I'm a big fan of what I call strong resting, because loads of people don't like rest. They think they're going to lose strength or they're resting too long. And I'm just like, no, that's because you're not strong resting. You're not allowing this art of recovery to happen. And like you say, the rebuild, this repair and rebuild that our body does, which is just really beautiful.
Oh, let me just go there. That's one thing I forgot to say about my routine is that I do push, pull, leg, ab day. So I do them alternately. And the reason I do that is because just what you said is that you're actually getting micro tears in the muscle when you're working just, a certain muscle. Let's say you're doing biceps. And you want to allow it to build up again, because if you keep tearing it down, it's going to take a much longer to build. So that's why you do, pushes more chest and shoulders and triceps. Pull is more back and biceps. And of course, legs is legs and abs. So I try to break it down that way.
Nice. And what's the experience like when you go to Ninja Warrior? Like the lights, I have some friends in the UK who did it, and it was interesting what they were, and I don't know how they do it here in the States, of like the timings of things, of how that all works. So what's your experience like when you go to be on Ninja Warrior? Talk me through the day. What's the reality of that?
You have to be very careful about what you eat when you eat it, but we have to get to, it was at Universal in California. So we get there very, very early. I think it was like a 3:00 call time, but I didn't go on stage until like 1:00 in the morning. So there's a lot of wait time, which is, there are highs and lows in that. And they also film at night because of the lighting. During the day, you're going to have clouds coming over, but it's a lighting nightmare. So at night they can, get that consistent. But that means we don't start the show until 9:00 at night. So you have to prepare yourself for that. And you're not allowed on any of the obstacles before you go up there. So that's always
that's a weird one for like the nervous system, for your body, for like to not even touch anything.
No, you'll get
there's no rehearsal, anything for you.
No rehearsal. And dance has a lot of rehearsals. So that was another big one. So then also you don't know what the obstacles are going to be. So you don't really know in the prior months what to practice. And a lot of times you can go back and look at older seasons. Like Jessica and I kind of looked at season 14. We did 15, and we looked at, online, they have season 14, and we'd look at different obstacles, and she was helping me, like, why did that person fall that way? And this is what you need to do. And hopefully you're practicing something that will be on the show. But they did, the very first obstacle was brand new. And I had the one that had been on for the last 4 or 5 years. I got that down, I was able to do that.
Like, if it's this, I'm good.
But it wasn't. And I was like, oh, man. So that didn't help. But then they just as I was ready to come out, they stopped for lunch. So I had gotten warmed up. I was ready. I was there. And then, so then you have to boom. Yeah. But then, the lights, the audience, the atmosphere, but you have to just focus. And when I got up there, that pole looked awfully big. It was a pole that you have to hit a mini tramp, jump to the pole, and climb it to the very top in order to get to a platform.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not good at mini tramps. So that's something that, Jessie and I kind of talked through. But she jumped up on the sideline. And just as I'm out there, she goes, stop, breathe, look at the pole, look at the mini tramp. You're going to punch, grab, then climb, and then tight, which is you don't want to hit the water at all. So if you stay tight to the pole, you can miss the water. So that I didn't want to have all these different things in my head and jumbling it up. So that was really helpful to have the one word, and I heard her. You can see that on the tape, but and I did think the punch was hitting the mini tramp, and the grab is the pole, and then you want to climb as fast as you can. So that was just amazing to get through that one. I was just like, okay, here we go.
Yeah, like everything.
Here we go. And the next one was called Grease Lightning for a reason. It was very fast. It was 2 nunchucks that were connected, and you have them over some kind of a pole that had 2 drops in it. And nunchucks are typically pretty slippery. So if you do this big jump, this jump in it, it's not a jump. It's like a bump, let's say. It can easily knock you off. So I was so excited that I got both of those bumps, and I held on tight that I didn't prepare quick enough for the platform to dismount. And you have to have that speed in order to get there, but you also have to prepare to get there. So there I was. I hit the end, and I kept pushing myself back several different times. And it's interesting. I think I showed more strength by constantly holding on to those nunchucks.
The stamina and the grip strength. I've watched it and I'm like, her grip is phenomenal.
So if I had let go and hit the platform on the edge and fallen into the water, it wouldn't have been as dynamic as sitting there going, okay, I'm going to get this.
Oh,
thing.
no,
yeah. Try it again.
The drive and the determination and the spirit is like, come on.
And then I lost all momentum, and I just looked down there. I let my hands down straight, and I can't do this. And I went, what the heck? I think I'm going to try to do one more pull up. And so I pulled myself up, and then I went drop into the water.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. So yeah, it's a fun experience to look back on. I see all the things that I should have done. And that's always the thing. I should be very happy with getting through the first obstacle, but I keep thinking it was just this much more, and I could have made that platform if I had just been prepared for that. So next time.
Yeah. So what's on the horizon for you? What are your goals currently? What are you working towards and doing?
Well, I'm working on some ideas to do some more Guinness records. I think that would be fun to do.
Fun.
I'm not sure. I don't know if you know it, but Jessie and I did 2 that we got.
And I don't really understand them. I read them and I was like, well, what does that look like? I didn't really. So can you explain them? Yeah,
we did a tandem pull up. So that means we're facing each other on one pole. So she has her hand, and we between our hands. And we're facing each other. I wrap my legs around her waist, and we both pull up.
Got it.
And down, all the way up and all the way down. So that was one.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one was, it was linking rings. And there's a
Like
place,
traveling rings.
there's a place in California that has
Yeah, and Santa Monica Beach has really nice traveling
the
rings. Yeah,
the
muscle,
original Muscle
the
Beach.
original Muscle Beach. Yeah.
So we went there and we just grabbed each ring. I grabbed it first and her behind me. She was behind me because, well, she's much better than me. So she knows how to grab the ring when my hand is already there. So we traveled all the way down and all the way back.
But so you're both on the same ring.
Yeah.
Wow. Because I've done those rings. I know those rings in Santa Monica, like, to go up and down, and the synchronization of the bodies for that timing and the swing.
Yes.
That's impressive, spectacular,
It's the
and
catching.
beautiful.
It's the catching the ring too. But yeah, you have to be synced up for that. So I'm thinking about a couple of other things that I'd like to do for that. I certainly would love to do American Ninja Warrior again. It won't be next year's because that's already in the works. It's already been done. And so maybe in 2000, wait a minute, next year is 2024, right? Maybe in 2025. If all goes well. I mean, you know how that is. So those are the kind of, and swim is a big thing with me. And that is trying to always do a personal best. It's not so much about the gold at the end or the getting it. It's the process. So in that one, it's me against myself. And how can I improve? And I'm learning things all the time, as you do, I guess, in everything. But with swimming, there's so many different things that you can do that affect the swim. So I've been to nationals 3 times now, and I will probably do that again. But I'm working on this. I'm trying to get better at all 4 strokes. And so those are the main things. I'd like to get a little bit more into rock climbing, but I don't seem to have the time to do that right now. But one thing that I do now, I haven't been doing it lately because Screen Actors Guild is on strike.
Yep.
But I also do, the main thing in life for me was to get to New York, to get on the stage and acting and, doing commercials, all that. And when I had to take that time off to raise my kids, I always wanted to get back to acting. That was the first goal when I retired to North Carolina, because that's where Wilmington is, and that's where they have a lot of film work. So that was my first goal when I retired, is to get back. And my agent told me to go gray, which was like a hard thing to do, but it's also liberating. So I've able in the last, since I've been here, able to do like 4 or 5 films, which was different from Broadway and TV commercials. So it took a little while to get going on it, but there's a movie called Palms.
I've seen Palms. I was going to say, I've seen Palms. When you did the splits, I mean, I was aware of you and what you were doing, and but then when you did the splits, I was like, oh, okay. That was fantastic.
Yeah, that was, a lot of the films that I do have some element of movement to them.
There's a physicality to your roles. Yeah.
So that was a great one, working with Diane Keaton and Jackie Weaver and all the people on that. Rhea Perlman. It was just a great experience. And so and a couple of things since then. So it's not like I have to make a living at it. So I'm not as pressurized to do it. So I'd like to be able to, in a perfect world, do a film a year, but that's kind of hard to do when we're on strike. So we'll see.
I mean, hopefully that'll will change and resolve soon.
At some point it will.
Yeah, it has. I mean, I have a lot of friends who are stunt women from the parkour world and different actors as well. So I know it's a very, very challenging time, and it's been a good while now.
Yeah, for sure.
What are your final thoughts and messages for people, to the doctors, to the retirees, to the women in midlife?
Well, I would say it's essential to get fit for your health, to recognize your potential, and to just make what may seem impossible become possible, because it can if you take it in little bits and pieces. I think if there's a saying, Abe Lincoln made it, it's not the years in your life that count, it's the life in your years. And I think you want to really work to have a good quality of life. And you can do that with exercise. I think the exercise is important. Start with baby steps. Take your time with it, but commit and make a habit of it. And I also think that you need to get good sleep. I think a lot of people, maybe the reasons that you were tired looking at something was that you didn't get enough sleep. That's so important to do. Your diet is important too. You want to have the healthy things. You want to stay away from the processed foods if you can. You want to, the healthy things that you put in your body, it's going to make you work better in the long run. I think sunshine is a really good thing for you as well. I know somebody was saying that 20 minutes in the sun in the morning will just elevate your mood for the day.
Oh yeah, I'm get up, wake up, go outside. I'm just get outside, get that light in as well. And
I'd say change your perceptions of things. Like when I was growing up, they said, the feeling was you don't want to get bulky because it's not feminine. Well, I can tell you that I think it's very feminine. I think it's curvy and sexy, and muscles are healthy. So change your perceptions. If you think you can't do something, just maybe say, I can't do it yet. Have belief in yourself and get rid of that negativity, because, it's sometimes our minds are working against us. So just let's redefine age.
Yeah, absolutely. Where can people find you? Where could they follow you, or where are you on the internet world and in person and all those things?
Okay, I'm mostly on Instagram. I started Instagram because the first time I went on American Ninja Warrior, I fell and it was devastating. I thought I'd let everybody down. And Jesse kept saying, it's, one fall doesn't define you. You can sit back and have a nice life, or you can keep going. Maybe not compete, but keep going. And it was like, I have come a long way, and I did want to keep it going. So that's when I started Instagram, and it's kind of shown my journey. Some people have seen me when I could barely do a pull-up, and, seen me go far in that way, and how that just, it doesn't just happen. You work at it,
Sure. Yeah. You got to show up each day.
Instagram is just my name. It's at Ginny MacColl, which is GINNYMACCOLL. It's all spelled differently than most people would think, but that's also my Facebook. In my Facebook title, is that what you'd say, or how
Facebook
to find
name?
me on
Username.
Facebook
I don't know. Yeah,
it's just my name, Ginny MacColl, and I'm on YouTube. I have my TV commercials on there, but there's tons of I think even my run on season 15 is on there. But a lot of the commercials that I did in the 70s and 80s for, Folgers and Mr. Clean and all those kind of things are there, which are fun to look at. And also, since I did Ninja Warrior, I'm on TikTok. Again, all of them are my name, Ginny MacColl.
Wonderful. I mean, thank you for your time today. I could ask you. I could ask you like 100 more questions for 3 more hours. So maybe we can do another one at some point as well. So I'll be like, okay, now I want to ask about that, and I want to ask about that. But thank you, and thank you for sharing your journey. Thank you for the inspiration that you're providing as a reference.
I hope that's been the most wonderful thing, is to have the people. Somebody just said the other day, she said, I've gone back to gymnastics because of you. And, she's older, probably in her 30s, which is old for gymnastics, but why not? And how
Yeah.
great is that to hear? It was really within herself, but when you see that people are doing this and they can do it, and it just should hopefully motivate people that they can do it as well.
Yeah. I mean, it gives me joy when I see you move, it motivates me. Like I had my pull-ups and then I didn't do them and then I lost them and then I started again and I would think of you. So you've become like, I think, you're in a lot of people's lives and in their minds, and you've become a reference for this. And I think the journey of you and with Jessie, and like I say, it's done with love and connection and joy. I don't see, and facing these fears and being in this this really important health first approach. It's so anyway, thank you for sharing your
Thank
journey
you. I
and the
appreciate it.
inspiration that you are to many, and keep I'm just excited for like what you do next. I'm like, okay, well, like what are you training now? And have a great time at the swim meets and competitions.
Should I do parkour?
Yeah, I mean, you are like, and if you're in Southern California as well, I'm down in San Diego, so it'd be really fun to go out and play and move. And
I'll let you know when I'm there, and you come up and do the rings with me. I'll show you how to do in tandem.
That would be so fun. I can't imagine doing the tandem ones. I'd be like, okay, do you go back here? And then like, what's your technique? But and just your joy, your presence.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time and sharing everything today. Thank you for listening to the show. Remember to subscribe and leave a review and let me know what resonated, what you liked, what it brought up, what you're curious about, and what you would like to hear. You can go to julieangel.com and you will find a bunch of great free resources there. There is the free Move More course, your free Movement Snacks guide, and if you are interested in reclaiming and increasing your physical strength and confidence so you can get your mojo back, be brave, adventurous, and age with grace, then message me via social media. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, or through my website, or email me at drjulieangel@gmail.com. That's drjulieangel@gmail.com, and let's set up a call. And until the next time, enjoy, stay curious, and I'm glad you enjoyed the show.